Hello and welcome back to the Jules with Gem podcast. I am your host GiGi and I hope you're well. If you're new, welcome. I'm honored to have you here. And if you're returning, I'm humbled to have you back. And to all my new subbies, welcome. You are the true VIPs indeed. Thank you so much for the support. I hope you and I can share and learn on this journey because it's definitely not a destination. So, as I have mentioned in my previous videos, there are a total of 12 houses. So I'm continuing the houses series, of course, and each house is basically a segment or rather an area of life. So each house has a ruler, and that ruler can be any of the 12 zodiac signs. So in my last video, I spoke about the first house and how and now we are moving on to the second house, naturally. So Taurus is the ruler of the second house, and Taurus deals with, our possessions, what we hold near and dear, and what we value. It's also having experiences, really, that include all of our senses. It's how we accumulate stuff, money, possessions, houses. If we purchase stocks, like what we actually invest in, can be seen in the second house. Like I said, it's also the way we accumulate wealth, so that's definitely part of all of the themes of the second house. And I don't really want to talk about Taurus a lot because you can find out more information about Taurus on the Taurus and Venus videos as well. So I think now that we have a basic understanding of the first house, which is the house of self, we can now move on to delving deeper into the second house, which helps us understand ourselves even further. So my understanding of the second house really is that it's a house where we use our talents, our skills to kind of make money. It's also the house of our values and our principles, and also how that kind of ties in with our self-worth, or how we see ourselves, or even, our self-esteem, like what type of self-esteem we even have in ourselves, and the relationship rather that we have with ourselves as well can be seen in the second house. So the sign on the cusp of the house will give you, or even an astrologer, an idea of how you can acquire this material wealth, but using your own will or using your own strength. So it's almost like the opposite of the 8th house, where the 8th house can show us how you can pull money from others, and obviously it shows many other things. The second house is how we show up in the world and get that bag, and how that bag affects us, and how it even affects our worth. Because a lot of people, they tend to, like their self-worth or their self-esteem is really tied into the things that they have materialistically speaking. I don't even know if materialistically is like a word, but I'm sure you guys get what I'm trying to say. I'm sure you get what I'm trying to actually explain to you. So the first house gives off the energy of, okay, this is me, this is how I express myself, this is who I am unapologetically. And the second house is like another layer to that. It's like, okay, yeah, it's about me. And then, the second house is like, okay, what is it about me? What do I value? What do I, it's really getting to know yourself and really peeling off the layers, if you will. So, it's more of okay, I'm so and so, and I have these skills and I have these talents, and to a certain extent, I attribute my success based on the things that I have, or what I'm actually able to attract. And of course, seeing as the natural ruler of the second house is Taurus, it's how we actually view our possessions. Like, because some people also, really their possessions can be tied into even their personality. Like, it becomes like part of their personality trait. Like, there's nothing else that they can say about themselves except attributed to the things that they have, and it's really a thing. And it's also how we get those possessions in the first place. I have Gemini in my second house. So I most probably, because I'm still young obviously, so I most probably would get or would make or acquire wealth by actually engaging in Gemini type things, like, you know, writing, communication, journaling, blogging, that kind of thing. Anything that has to do with communication, anything that has to do with multitasking, anything that has to do with information, getting as much information and then sharing it with the world, because of course Gemini is the messenger. Anything that has to do with acquiring data is going to be the way that I'm supposed to actually, you know, make my money off of my own skills and my talents. So, you know, but also I'm able to practice attachment and detachment with this placement, because like I said, the second house does have a habit of, you know, hoarding, because they're so possessive over their things. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't let go of this. No, you know, they really a bit slow to change. But with Gemini energy, it's kind of like, okay, I have these things, I don't need them anymore. They're actually making my house quite full, and every now and then I'll just get rid of a couple of stuff. That's just how it is. I don't know if this is the same experience for everybody, but yeah, definitely do share in the comments if this is something that you do as well, because literally it even starts overwhelming me when I can see that my space is now becoming small because I have too many things. I literally just want to get rid of almost everything. So yeah, so in essence, you know, I do practice detachment, and I find it also easier to kind of adapt to changes, especially when it comes to my finances, even in my values. Like, I'm able to change things if I feel like it's just not working anymore, especially when it comes to my own self-worth, or anything really that I deem as important. It's definitely going to be changed if I feel like it needs to be changed. So the second house is also an indication of, you know, our security. So like I said, if you have Gemini or Virgo, or even, you know, like Mercury ruled in your second house, then acquiring knowledge would make you feel very secure, or even writing, journaling, basically indulging in second house activities would make you feel secure within yourself. The zodiac sign, of course, which is on your second house, then is what would make you the most comfortable and secure, and just really make you feel like you are yourself. And it's also how you would naturally seek out these comforts, as opposed to, you know, somebody having a Pisces in their second house. They would rather seek security in religious or even spiritual pursuits. I think planets in the second house also indicate how we go about attaining security, and why we go about attaining it in the way that we do, because essentially, you know, our second house is our house of inner wealth, if I can even explain it like that, because it's the house of, okay, this is what makes me feel comfortable, this is what makes me feel like me, this is what I would compare my self-worth to, this is what, you know, really motivates me, this is what, you know, makes me feel like I am seen. So naturally we're gonna want to go after those things that make us feel that way. And it's also an indication of our desires as well, and what we value and appreciate. So any major shift that kind of happens in this house, or any type of transit that happens here, would largely affect how you actually think about, you know, the above mentioned themes, because it's really like, it's that intense. So the second house and the eighth house are also very interesting to me, because not only because of the fact that they kind of opposite to each other, you know, despite being on the opposite ends, but also the fact that the second house shows us how we accumulate the money, as I've mentioned before, and then the eighth house is kind of how we gather money from other people, and how we're able to transform you know, our second house, or even transform using other people's, you know, possessions. Whether that be, you know, getting an inheritance, whether that be getting a loan from the bank, anything really that is not yours but that is valuable, that you're able to use and transform it to make your life better in whichever way is beneficial. So these two houses are really important when it comes to studying what it is that could help you potentially make money, and also checking out the aspects that are made to this house, because obviously if the aspects are kind of bad, it just means, not even bad, I don't like saying bad, but if the aspects are challenging, then you would need to find better ways to work with the energy, and that's completely okay. Just it would need some time for you to understand how to actually make that work, and what's a better way to spend your time than to actually learn how to use the energies within your chart, right? So so the second house is how we can do with what we have and actually transform it into something tangible and do it practically. And then, like I said, the eighth house is about how we transform opportunities or opportunities given from other people actually into something that would bring us intimacy or even closer to others, or that we can make more of. So both the second and the eighth house kind of deal with possessions. It's just they have different ways of going about it, and the different things that they are possessive about are naturally going to be different for this reason. So both houses are naturally fixed because, of course, Taurus and Scorpio. And I think one thing I've learned about the second house is just seeing as my moon occupies this house, is that anything really that's external of me is not really worth placing too much value on, especially since the moon deals with emotions, and emotions are quite changeable. I mean, you could experience 1,000 emotions in 24 hours, so this is not really something that's quite reliable to rely on. So I think what's really valuable is just what is left after you have been stripped off of all of your physical or the material things rather. I think the saying money can't buy happiness is a bit flawed, as money can buy you a certain level of comfort, but I don't think that it can buy you inner peace. It can't buy you silence within yourself, peace within yourself, love, like loving yourself. It definitely can't buy those things. It's definitely a spiritual thing that one needs to rely on, because even when you're having good times, you need to have a spiritual way about you, where you do give thanks and you give gratitude, and then when things are going bad, you also need to fall back on that, because it's so easy to get lost, especially in this world. I don't want to delve on that too much, but yes, I hope you did understand what it is that I am trying to say. So at the end of the day, I think the realm that we're currently occupying just relies so heavily on what we can prove, especially materialistically, especially physically. And to a certain extent, material goods can help us gain some sort of social standing, some sort of recognition. You can even buy your way into friendships, and you can buy adornment and love from people. Of course, whether it's genuine or not is very questionable. But of course, we cannot deny that having some sort of material wealth or some sort of good standing, materialistically speaking, can really place you in different circumstances. I mean, a circumstance that somebody who's quite wealthy will even the life in general, life's experiences will be vastly different to somebody who is part of the middle class or even the lower class for that matter. So we can't not acknowledge the opportunities that do come with having money. It's just that I feel that it should not be to a point where it's now dependent, like everything is dependent on it, like our self-worth is dependent on it, our self-esteem becomes dependent on it, because then it's so easy for us to slip into depression very, very, very easily, because now we are under so much pressure to attain a certain lifestyle, to maintain a certain image, and when we don't have those things in place, then it makes us feel like we are not worth being loved, we're not worth being adored, we're not worth friendships, we're not worth, having a good reputation or having even a good standing within society. So I think it's really important that we distinguish the difference, still having that confidence even when you don't have anything to show for it, and just being confident in yourself whether or not those things are in place. I always hope to bring clarity in the understanding of the study, rather, of astrology, understanding and study, actually, of astrology. And I hope you have understood a little bit more about the second house and its influence. In my next video, I will be discussing the third house. And maybe I might add an extra video, who knows, based off my celebrity series. I'm really excited about the celebrity series because it actually gives me the opportunity to read the charts and to see how the planets are interacting with each other. But I'll definitely be discussing that in those videos. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Show me some love and subscribe to my channel if you'd like and feel I have brought value to your understanding of astrology. And as always, your time spent is much appreciated. Till next time, you know what to do, so keep doing what you do. Peace, love, and most of all, light.